Hello, everyone. We are going to go ahead and review what we've learned from chapter 14 of our Hebrew textbook, and then I'm going to go over a little bit of our homework that we had. So, as we're thinking about adjectives, which is the main grammar focus of this chapter, we learned that there are a couple of major things about adjectives. First up, where does the adjective go in relationship to the noun? Think about your answer for a second. Adjectives in Hebrew always go after the noun. So we don't say tov devar, good thing, we say devar tov. We don't say tova isha, good woman, we say isha tova. So this is a very important thing that we need to remember. The second thing is that adjectives need to agree with the noun in a couple of different ways. So we learned our little song for this. Adjectives agree in gender, they agree in number too. They agree in definiteness with the nouns they modify. So there are these three ways the adjectives need to agree with the noun in gender, number, and definiteness. So that means if we have a masculine singular noun like devar, we also will need a masculine singular adjective like tov. If we have a masculine plural noun like devarim, we'll also need a masculine plural adjective like tovim. What if we have a feminine singular noun like behema? It's a little hard to do the vowels with this, sorry. If we have behema, if we want to say it's a good cow, it's a good cow, our word for good, we know, is tov. But what am I going to need to do here to make these match? I'm going to need to make sure that they both have this feminine singular ah ending. So we say behema tova, like so. What if we have a feminine plural noun like behemoth? If we have behemoth and we want to say they're good cows, we're going to say that they are behemoth tov oat. That's right. So we could have devar tov, devarim tovim, behema tova, behemoth tovot. They need to match in gender, masculine or feminine, and in number, singular and plural. They also have to match in definiteness. So if I have ha behema, the animal, I also need to say ha tova. So ha behema ha tova, the good animal. Ha behemot ha tovot, the good animals. Literally, the animals, the good ones. So this is the two most important things that we know about our adjectives. No, that's not going to help me any. Go away. So adjectives go after the noun, and adjectives need to agree with the noun in gender, number, and definiteness. As we know, there are some words that we've learned, like ze, zot, and ela, which can act as either nouns or adjectives. So if we want to say, this is the animal, what are we going to do? So I'll have the animal here. If I want to say this is the animal, the first thing I want to think about is which form of this is going to be appropriate for habehema. And we're going to need a feminine singular version. So if I want to say this is the animal, I just say zot habehema. This is the animal. But if I want to say this animal, I don't say it like this. If we're doing this animal, then the this is acting as an adjective and it needs to come after the noun and it needs to match in gender, number, and definiteness. So in that case, we have הבהמה הזאת, like so. So we understand more or less how this works. If we have a situation where there's actually a construct chain, we also need to remember this. So say I have a construct chain and it's the sister of the animal. The sister of the animal. So the word for sister, of course, is aha, but we know that if we're in the land of the construct chain, we're going to need our ending to be ahat. So ahat habahema, the sister of the animal. That's a complete construct chain. What if we want to say the big sister of the animal? Because this is a big cow. Where am I going to put my adjective? My adjective is going to go after the construct chain, and we're going to put it here, and it has to match the construct chain in gender, number, and definiteness. So if I start with my adjective gadol, which means large or great, I need it to be feminine singular because there's one sister here, and she is feminine. So we're going to need gadola here. And then the construct chain as a whole is definite. So we're going to need to have aha right here. So achat habehema hagadola, the big sister of the animal. Okay? All right. So we understand more or less how that works. Now, let's go ahead and remember for a second, how do we do comparisons with adjectives? We talked about how there are kind of two sort of extra types of things you can do with adjectives. You can do comparison. So in English, we have comparative adjectives like this is better than that. That is bigger than this. That's a comparison. And we also have superlatives. We can say that is the biggest one. That is the smallest one. That is the funniest one. Those would be superlatives in English. You're saying it is the most something. Okay? Now, we remember that in Hebrew, when we want to do comparatives, we're going to use our friend, the preposition mean. So what if we want to say this animal is bigger than that animal? This animal is bigger than that animal. Not sure we've actually learned how to do that yet, so I'm going to use this 2 times. So this animal would, of course, be again habhema hazot, right? Habhema. It's very hard to write with my mouse. Hazot. And we want to say that it's bigger than. So we would say gedola, it's bigger. Mean than that animal. Habhema. Technically, this would be hahi, but I'm going to use hazot again. Okay, so habehema hazot gedola mean this other animal, right? So this is how we do it. So we have the thing that's being compared, then we have our adjective, then we have our mean, and then we have what it's being compared to. That's how we put this together. So we remember all this. Let's go ahead and go over some of our homework. I'm going to come back over here, and I want us to talk about just a couple of things here. So let's start here. And let's take a look at set number 4 under exercise 1, because some of these are a little bit interesting, okay? So our first one, we have Aim Ha'adon Hazakain. Aim Ha'adon Hazakain. So Aim means mother. Ha'adon means the Lord or master. So Aim Ha'adon is our construct chain, the mother of the master. Then we end with Hazakain. So the old one. Now here's kind of the tricky thing here. We have this construct chain, Aim Ha'adon, and then we have our adjective Hazakain. Which of the two nouns is Hazakain modifying? You have to look at the gender and number of Hazakain. So Aim is feminine singular, Adon is masculine singular, Zakain is masculine singular. So because Zakain is masculine singular, it has to be modifying Ha'adon. That's what has to be going on here. So Aim Ha'adon Hazakain, the mother of the big master. How about this next one? Beit Naomi Hazkina. We have Beit, house, Naomi, Hazkina, the old one. Is it the Beit that's old, or is this Naomi that's old? So is this the old house of Naomi or the house of old Naomi? Look at Hazkina. Do you guys see how it is feminine singular here? Because it's feminine singular, it has to be modifying Naomi. So this is the house of old Naomi. Let's see. Then down here, this last example, Eine Yosef Hazkinot. Eine Yosef, the eyes of Joseph, Hazkinot, the old ones. Is this the old eyes of Joseph, or are these the eyes of old Joseph? How do we know? Well, look at the ending of Hazkinot, and you guys see that this is masculine plural. So we look back and we find that Eine is plural, but Yosef is not. So Hazkinot must be modifying Eine. So these are the old eyes of Joseph. I guess we could, if we really wanted to, say Eine Yosef Hazkinot Hazakain, so the old eyes of old Joseph. That would be a little awkward in Hebrew, however. So you guys see how this is working? So most of these are more simple than that, but I just wanted to do those slightly more complicated examples together so that we could see how that worked. Now let us go down to exercise. Which one is it? Exercise 5. Exercise 5. Let me scroll down here. I need to get rid of that stuff there. How do I clear? There we go. All right, it's been a long time since I used the whiteboard function in Zoom, and they have changed it a lot. Okay, so if we're down here in exercise 5, so the first thing we had to do was we had to figure out the correct form of each adjective. So, for example, in this first one, we are trying to find the form of ra that would match ha'am. So ha'am means the people. It's one of our nice collective nouns. It's not a feminine noun, it's a masculine noun, and it's in the singular form. So we're going to need a masculine singular form of ra, which is in fact ra. So if we wanted to write this out, we would have ha'am ra yikach et kol hazahav miyadei hakohen. In our second sentence, we have divrei b'nei Yaakov blank mikol divrei anshe Moav. So what is our Rav going to have to modify? it's going to be modifying this whole construct chain here, Divrei B'nai Yaakov, the words of the sons of Jacob. Now, because Rav means many, I think it's pretty fair to assume that we're trying to say something like the many words of the sons of Jacob, in which case we're going to match divrei, which is masculine plural. So in that case, divrei b'nei Yaakov rabim, because we want the masculine plural. Now you may look at this and you may be like, Dr. Mack, divrei is construct. It has this A ending, but now you've got rabim without the construct ending. And that's because adjectives don't go into the construct. They aren't part of the construct chain. They aren't having to lose their ending like that. So rabim is the correct form. Divrei b'nei Yaakov rabim, mikol divrei anshe Moav. Number 3 is easy. Number 4, you just needed to figure out how to match Isha. So Isha, of course, is feminine singular, right? So you need the feminine singular form of Echad, which is Achat. So you would have gotten Isha Achat, B'Shem Sarah. In number 5, you were matching Sha'arim. So you should have done masculine plural there for Gadol. In number 6, you're matching Anochi here. So Anochi, and then depending on, oh yeah, you would have to then look later in the sentence to figure out who's talking, right? So if you were just saying this for yourself, right? So you're trying to say for yourself, I'm very old. I would say Anochi skena me'od, because I'm marked as feminine. If you would mark yourself as masculine, then you would say Anochi sakin me'od. However, in this sentence, they tell you who is speaking. They tell you that Naomi is speaking. So that is going to give you the gender that you need for your zaken, right? Then if you go farther down the sentence, Gam, Kol, Nashe, Habayit are old. Here you're matching your construct chain, Kol, Nashe, Habayit. So I think here we're probably trying to say that the women are old. That makes the most sense to me, instead of trying to say all the women of the old house. That wouldn't actually be a, very much like a sentence, so it would be kind of confusing. So I think we're matching Nashe, in which case we want, of course, feminine plural. All right. So we've kind of figured out what forms of our adjectives we need. What did we do in terms of translation? Let's see here. Let's just do a couple of these that were, I think, a little bit more complicated. Let's just talk about these 3, numbers 2, 4, and 5. You guys can check your work and see if you agreed with me. For number 2, we have Divrei b'nei Yaakov rabim mikol divrei anshe Moav. So Divrei b'nei Yaakov, the words of the sons of Jacob, rabim, are many, mikol. Here we have a comparative mean, right? So what we probably want to say is, instead of the words of the sons of Jacob are many, we probably want to say the words of the sons of Jacob are more than, for the mean, all the words, divrei, of the men, anshe, of Moab. Does that make sense? Number 4. Isha blank b'shem Sarah yashva b'veit lechem b'yamim hahem. So, Isha achat, one woman, b'shem Sarah. This is another of those kind of weird uses of ba. So it's not going to mean in here. I think we probably want by name, Sarah, Yashva. sat bevet lechem, in Bethlehem, so maybe lived in Bethlehem. Bayamim hahem, in those days. In those days. Number 5. Avarnu Yerushalayma ve'anachnu ra'inu sha'arim gadolim me'od saviv. So Avarnu Yerushalayma, we crossed to Jerusalem. We've got our nice directive hey ending here. Ve'anachnu ra'inu, and we saw sha'arim gadolim, big gates, me'od saviv, so very big gates around. Does that make sense? Email me if you have any questions about anything. All right. What else did we have here? I think that's all we really need to go over together. So email me if you have any questions, and I will see you guys after the Thanksgiving break.